guys, welcome back to day 2 of the Alliance tournament after we saw Waffles unfortunately knocked out. Very sad for me, but the next match is going to be Brothers in Arms Alliance versus Castabouts. CAS from Centre of Advanced Studies, but Brothers in Arms is the alliance I want to talk about first. This is a team who this year and last year have brought exclusively Tinker teams. So that's using a Tengu, and until the rules were changed, remotely feeding it Cap, very undermanned team that's supposed to turtle up. Last time they brought the Tengu with 2 Sleipnirs, an Onyx, a Hugin, a Gila, and a Caracal Navy, weirdly enough. Not the most common Tengu setup, and they were somewhat smacked down by the other team. Castabouts, however, brought back the Garistas swag with a Rattlesnake Scorpion Navy issue, 2 Scorpion Navy issues in fact, 2 Gilas, 2 Kirins, those Logifrigs, and 3 Bombers for actually a very DPS heavy team. And one of the ways to break a Tinker is just to out DPS the reps. Rocket, what's your opinion on Brothers in Arms? Do you think they're going to bring another Tinker yet again?
It wouldn't surprise me to see them bring a Tinker, but I mean, like, I think we've said the problems that we've had before with their Tinker team is that they just don't seem to want to bring battleships with them. They prefer to use Sleipnirs, for example. And when you've got a Tinker, it's going to be a fairly immobile doctrine because your Logi range is so short on it. So you need to have the heavy DPS that can hit out at range and apply that damage throughout the fight. I think really they need to step it up and bring a battleship or 2.
They also seem to be really lacking in hard mitigation. Obviously, they're using shield comps, which just don't have as much control naturally due to the lack of open mids. So I would expect to really see a Meepo, an armor Tinker, if anything, this term.
Yeah,
they did bring a Legion Tinker in their last match last year, so maybe they pull that back out of the bag. Maybe they've got a few of the old modules lying around. Let's talk about CAS, however, who are a really interesting team. Coming from Syndicate, I believe they still are. They spend most of their time in the Centre of Advanced Studies NPC Corp, and they stay there and tell new players about coming to play an NPC Null, providing a journey between the high sec starting point to NPC Null, which is a very interesting playstyle, really fun one of the many that there are in New Eden. Do you guys have any experience fighting against or with CAS? What do you think of them as a tournament team?
I can honestly say I don't think I've ever come across them, to be honest.
Fair enough.
It's a completely unknown quantity to me. I'll be interested to see what they do, though.
Jin?
I've seen them involved in a couple of fights down in Providence, but I've never really involved myself in Syndicate. However, I do know that they have quite the reputation of being ballsy, and that's something that we saw in the last fight, bringing such an incredibly DPS-heavy team. So it's going to be interesting to see if they follow through with that, and you know, maybe we'll see a return of the blaster hull-tanked Galante setup that you're so fond of, Pothny.
Yes. Well, I mean, you know, the Garista swag is pretty cool. We haven't really seen Gilas and Rattlesnakes return to the tournament in a while. We were mentioning earlier being dropped down to T1 drones is a pretty big hit. That's a lot of DPS and a lot of survivability of the drones dropped off. I'm really excited to see what CAS bring. I'm really curious as to whether Brothers in Arms are really going to double down on the Tinker team. We do have a little bit of time left before the match, however, so there is something else we need to talk about. It's that the Neros is a very strong tournament spaceship, generally considered stronger than the Guardian. It has been banned over 20 times. It is the most banned ship in the Alliance tournament thus far. Jim, would you like to tell us why the Neros is so good and perhaps why it's better than the Guardian?
Yeah, the Neros is obviously it's the cousin to the Guardian, the other T2 armor logistics. However, the Neros actually allows you to use a lot more varied compositions than the Guardian, because the Guardian is so built around the predilection to have remote cap transfers, generate cap for it. Whereas the Neros is designed with a more internal sustain focus, so it can fit injectors and it can fit cap recharges, and it can effectively just work off of itself, which in a one logistics meta, as we have enforced by the rules here, is a massive advantage. In addition to that, you have 2 more mids than you do with the Guardian, which lets you fit a sensor booster to reduce the effects of enemy control.
Yep, so let's see what these teams bring. Will it be another Tinker? Will CAS bring some more Garista swag? We will see in the match between Castabouts and Brothers in Arms Alliance right now.
Hello everyone, I'm Elise Randolph, joined by Ryload, welcoming you back to Alliance 114, Day 2. This is the elimination bracket in the lower round. We've got CAS bouts versus Brothers in Arms. Brothers in Arms in blue with a pretty cool setup with a double Vargas and a bunch of bombers. And just a casual Geddon thrown in there. It's not just a casual Geddon, it's their flagship Geddon.
Ooh, a flagship game by Brothers in Arms, while Casabouts are bringing a Galente rush setup with 2 Vindicators, Hyperion, Eos, going with the T2 logic with 2 Deacons, Vengeance, 2 Bombers, and a Punisher. So I have a feeling this Casabouts is going to be brawling in, and those bar guests are going to be running away.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, I guess these are armor Vargas, not something we see every day, supported by a Guardian. They also have a Brothers in Arms. Also have a Kitsune to round out their support wing. Let's see what happens. These Vindicators, they all warped in kind of far from one another, except for this. This Casabout's Hyperion warped in at 0. He's the only one that warped in super close.
Yeah.
Everyone else is quite far. Maybe this Hyperion is hoping that the Brothers in Arms teams will think he's screwed up or something, and they all go for him.
We'll see. It looks like the Casabouts team looks like they are just rushing in, while the Brothers in Arms line is actually just sitting there. Their Bargas are sitting at 0 MS comfortably, but they will eventually get tackled if they don't start moving in. But the Casabouts support ships are being primaried right now, but they're getting wrapped up by those Deacons just fine, while the Brothers in Arms side are just rushing in, trying to get as much damage as possible.
It's going to be really hard for these Deacons to keep these Purifiers alive. Casabouts did rush their Punisher forward to start screening off some ships, and it looks like Casabouts are going to focus on either a Vargas or, again, they've caught both.
Yep. But we'll see about that in the time come. But it looks like they do have a Vargas grappled and painted on the Casabout side, but the Hyperion is taking quite a lot of damage. But Hyperion does get an armor rep bonus. He looks like he has a local tank, so he's going to be tanking just fine, being wrapped up by the Deacons as well. But the Vargas on the Brothers in Arms side is full brunt force of those Vindicators and Hyperion. But
Confessor just died instantly.
Confessor just got instantly volleyed, and the Kitsune as well. Kitsune down as well. Looks like Brothers in Arms are just like losing support ships. Looks like they were too close against those Vindicators. Obviously, the Vindicators saw that they were close and just like boom, headshotted them.
Yeah, but these Vindicators. Ooh, okay, Brothers in Arms did a really good move. They had neuted out the Hyperion, which is probably what the Hyperion wanted. They wanted to waste all of the neuts from this flagship Geddon. Meanwhile, the Geddon really could be neuting one of the Vindicators to stop him from firing. These neuts from the Geddon are really, really powerful, and this Vindicator does need a bunch of cap to fire fully.
Yep.
Doesn't look like they're neuting him out enough, as Brothers in Arms are currently still losing their Vargas through reps, through Guardian reps even.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Vargas aren't really the tankiest pirate battleships. They may be the Balanced Legion, but unfortunately, they're not getting balanced. They're getting balanced pretty hard here. The Vargas do actually have rapid heavies as well, so if you see any damage which is not being applied, which is now, they're probably on reload.
And this support wing from Casabouts is doing work. They're completely dismantling the Brothers in Arms support wing. Confessor's down, Purifier's down, Kitsune down. There's only one crew left. And the Vargas
is down as well. Oh, wow. Casabouts just played this game amazingly. They just basically, those Vindicators went in and brawled those Vargas. It looks like the Brothers in Arms didn't force their support to go in, and the Vindicators just webbed them and just blasted them with their blaster cannons.
A really, really good showing from the Casabouts team. Warping in at 50 with a blaster setup, as the studio was talking about before. In fact, it was you that were talking about it with rush teams. A lot of the times you can play it a little bit further back, and the first team that rushes in generally is at a disadvantage.
Exactly.
And when you play it further back, you get to dictate the range a little bit more and force some separation. That's exactly what Casabouts did in the face of overwhelming control coming from these flagship Armageddon.
Oh yeah, that flagship Armageddon is playing all of his control, but it's just not enough. These Vindicators are still shooting. Hyperion is stabilized. Eos is at range. The Deacons are being neuted, but obviously Armageddon heavy neuts do have quite. Oh,
that Guardian just melted.
I don't know what happened to him. Did he like brawl in? It looks like
he got caught by a Vindy, which it sounds hard to do, but
yeah. Maybe he just wasn't paying attention and he just got webbed by the Vindicator and it was pretty much game over. No rep bots. Well, there is a lot of rep bots, but they're all being applied to the Geddon and they're being smart bombed as well.
Really, really great play from Castbouts, just destroying this Brothers in Arms team.
Yeah.
Armor Bargus, not really something you see often, and probably for good reason, but they still had a pretty good setup all in all, or pretty decent.
Yeah,
It looks like they took the Armor Bargus because they banned out the Typhoon Fleet issue themselves.
Yeah,
So they went with some sort of tricky ban play, saying, oh, we're not going to take a missile team with battleship cores. JK,
Oh,
we
wait.
are.
But it didn't really work out for them, considering Barghest are more expensive than TFIs as well, and Barghest do have the scram bonus as well, so they can. I don't know. The thing is, at the start of the match, the Barghest they just sat there. That's the problem. If they just kited away, killed the support of the Castabout side, maybe they could have changed it. But those Barghests just sat there. I mean, I don't know if it was a good idea to brawl with the Barghests, especially against Vindicators as well.
Yeah, well, that's it for us. Castbouts remain in the Alliance 114. Brothers in Arms, unfortunately, are out, and we will send it back to the studio.
In Eve, the only thing worth more than ISK is trust. In Amsterdam, Eve is real.
Hey guys, welcome back to day 2 of the Alliance Tournament 14. I'm Apothny here with Jintan and Rocket X. We are here to discuss that crazy match that just happened between Castabouts and their opponents in the Alliance of... Why can I never remember the matches after this? It was Castabouts versus...
Brothers Alliance.
This is not going well. I'm brain
okay,
dead
Fred.
today. It's okay. Still, Castabouts there just rushed in with Vindies and they rushed in with Vindies, took out the tackle to stop their Vindies getting screened, and then moved on to take out the Barghests of the Brothers in Arms Alliance. So, Jintan, tell me a little about what we saw there.
Well, realistically, I think that that Brothers in Arms should have won that. They were doing really well. They had a very good comp, but the problem was that they got greedy. They tried to go in with their support, and they tried to hurry up the match. They had to understand that the more the Vindicators had to burn towards them, and the more they worked away, the stronger those Armageddon newts would have been against them. They effectively just played themselves out of the game there. If they'd have taken it nice and slow, I think they would have been in an excellent chance for winning, because obviously the Vindicator guns need cap to function.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest ways to defeat a rush team is to just control them, right? So even against Minotaur Rush, you try and split apart the Sleipnirs. If you've got double Vindy, you need to split the Vindicators so that the team can't get all of their DPS onto a single ship at one time. Rocket, if you were in that match, if you had the Barghests, what do you think you would have done differently? Like, how would you have assigned the different ships?
Well, I mean, you have to stay at range. There's really no way you can go in and fight two Vindies like right up in their face, especially if they're both together. You're just going to get hammered. That's a hell of a lot of DPS. And regardless of what kind of support you have, you're going to be really struggling to tank it if you're in a T1 hull, especially, I mean, if you use T2 and you've got a Galente or Caldari hull, maybe with the kinetic thermal resistances, but battleships just aren't going to take it.
Well, we do have castabouts eliminating Brothers in Arms Alliance there, going on through to face its only Pixels after their loss to Agony Empire. So before we go to the ad break, I'd like to briefly discuss once again the Alpha clones. Rocket X, would you mind just explaining to the stream, if they might not have heard of what Alpha clones are, what the plan with those things are when they come out in November?
Right, so the idea of the alpha clones is that there's a preset amount of skills that's based on the race that your character is. So if you've got an Amar character, you'll be able to train certain skills that are relevant to Amar ships up to, say, the cruiser class. And with that account, you'll be able to play for free. There's no cost. You wouldn't need to plex it. Any skills you have over that level, you won't be able to use them, but it would technically allow you to play up to a cruiser class ship using T1 modules for the most part and play the game.
I mean, Jintan, you're currently sitting on the CSM Council Stellar Management, the group of players democratically elected to represent our voice to CCP and obviously have absolute power in game changes, and everything that's wrong with the game is now personally your fault. What is the CSM's work been with Alpha Clones? As it's been announced and released during the current CSM 11's election, how much have you guys been able to input on the Alpha Clones? And recently coming off the CSM Summit, what are your thoughts and feelings towards the implementation of Alpha Clones this November?
I think CCP have been very willing to listen to both ours and the community in general's concerns with regards to alpha clones. We've been able to bring up the subjects of multi-boxing, we've been able to talk to them about different skills and the way that that might impact the meta. And we've also used it as a platform to dive off into other new player-based activities, things like faction warfare, things like the new player experience. And I think we've made great progress there. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what CCP does, not just in November, but going forwards into basically the first quarter of 2017.
Certainly an interesting change, though. I mean, like when we had skill injectors come into the game, a lot of people said that it'll improve the accessibility of the game. People will be able to inject skills to fly ships to fit into general doctrines that get used by various both new player groups and more senior ones. But there's then the question that are new players going to want to invest that money either real life or in game to buy skill points? And now you've got a situation where people will be able to not have very much time invested in the game and still be able to play, and they'll have more time to choose whether they want to invest that extra money or not.
I'm hoping that certain people who may have played EVE a long time ago, maybe had real life commitments or just fallen out of love with the game, whatever, this will be an opportunity for them to give EVE another go without immediately having to fork over that subscription money. They can have a go, see the beautifully updated graphics, see all the changes in game design and everything that's gone on in just the past few years, which has been, I mean, if you look at EVE 5 years ago and you look at EVE today, it's a different game,
definitely,
really.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's going to be a way for people to get back in the game. We must give a massive shout out to CCP and EveBet for supporting our player-run hosting of the first weekend, as well as the ISD guys who are running the other two streams with all the matches on them in two systems. Unfortunately, we cannot cover both systems at once, but we are doing our best to cover as many matches as possible. Also, a massive shout out to Biohazard, who is 10 arming 20 different laptops in order to make all our tech work today. So we will be bringing you the next match for today, which is going to be Red versus Blue versus Samurai Sold Out. Really interesting match after these announcements.